Music Production.
Yo, what is popping, guys? Let's break down Bitcoin and give this a little chat here. I just want to talk about today some bearish catalysts that could potentially lead us to go a little bit lower in Bitcoin here. And all in all, I don't think that's a bad thing. I am a believer in the thesis behind Bitcoin, right? So it going lower doesn't affect me. It just gives me another buying opportunity. Keep that in mind. That is my perspective here. That doesn't mean I don't want to be completely ignorant to the downside. Of course, the downside will help me make a better investment. So I want to be privy to that. So let's talk about it here. So a few things that I think could potentially affect Bitcoin going lower here. So we have the Russia-Ukraine shit going on. If any nukes go on, people are going to be selling off assets. Price will go lower. So that's one. We have inflation, right? Inflation isn't really stopping, and we're not really seeing a pause or a kind of like a peak yet, right? Inflation could persist for a longer time. And I think that like the Fed and like the US is trying to really make that evident here that inflation could really persist for quite some time. So just think about that. Like, it costs more to live. It costs more to eat. It costs more for everything. So because of that, people are going to have less money to buy assets, and that includes Bitcoin, right? So thirdly, we have interest rates, right? Interest rates rising, it's showing no sign of stopping anytime soon, right? We might get a pause, but a pause isn't the same as like a reversal in the interest rates. Now, what we're looking at is, and we might not see the effects of this for a little while, but if interest rates continue to rise, that's like a big portion of like a mortgage payment, right? So think about it. People who own houses, like they won't be able to buy their assets because they're busy paying off the mortgage payment. Now, that just takes away from money going out into other assets. So there's the third reason, right? And again, investors tend to look at the Fed increasing interest rates as a bearish thing. So people are trying to price in like, okay, I want to sell my assets if these interest rates are going to continue to rise, right? Just keep that in mind. We have another bearish catalyst, which would be just overall people selling for tax reasons, right? It's coming to the end of the year here. Institutions and retail investors that want to take capital loss shit on their taxes at the end of the year, they're going to have to sell assets in order for that to happen, right? So that could cause a cascade in both the NASDAQ, the S&P, and other assets like Bitcoin, right? People might want to sell their Bitcoin so that they can have that tax write-off at the end of the year, right? So that could lead us to further drawdown in BTC, right? So here's just a few random bearish catalysts that could lead us to go lower. Now, if the Fed decides to start to reverse any of that, it could potentially lead us for a rally. We also have to take into consideration, I'm also pretty sure that right now, the amount of shorts on Bitcoin is like at like all-time highs. I'm pretty sure someone could correct me on that, but institutional shorting is like peaking right now. So that could obviously cause Bitcoin to go a lot lower, or if we get like a sort of pump here, it could cause there to be a sharp increase in the price, right? So that's just another small little thing to be aware of. But what I'm trying to say is, if the potential that the price could go lower, right? If the potential is there that the price could go lower, where could we go? And that's huge to pay attention to, right? So I'm going to scroll back here. This is the weekly time frame, and let's look at Bitcoin in 2018 here. So in 2018, it was looking like we were starting to bottom out right in this range. We created a nice long base, and we held it for a long period of time here, right? So this base here was solid. We held that for a long period of time, and right when you think it's the bottom, boom, we drop another 50% here, right? So think about that. We dropped another 15% when it looked like the bottom was in. So when I want to look at this now, like sure, it does kind of look like it. This has been really drawn out. Like from the very highs, we are down about 76%, right? That's 3/4 of the price. We're down bad right now. But here's the thing. I don't want to be ignorant to the fact that we could go lower. So what I have marked out is this 11K range. Now that 11K range is just around 30% from where we are now. So if Bitcoin drops another 30%, where would we be? Right around these 2020 levels where it was a major resistance, right? We created a massive pattern here. Some could call this an inverse head and shoulders. Some would call it something else, but the way I see it is that there was an inverse head and shoulders pattern developing back in 2020, which led us to ramp up large, right? This was our neckline here. So if we're looking at this thinking that price could come back down there, right? This was our resistance. And what resistance tends to do is when it flips, we want to see it act as support. So if we come back down into that range, this is a buy opportunity, and it might take us a little while to stay down there. We base and then we curl upward. Look what happened when we started to curl up in 2018. This shit happens fast. So this opportunity that could be coming up could be a generational buying opportunity in Bitcoin, whether we come to 11K or not. This range, and I'm looking at this, I'll mark out this box here. I think that this range right here is the time. This is the time that we can, like, how I don't know how old like the average person is who watches my shit. I'm 25 years old, okay? I want you guys to hear me out here. I'm 25, and there's a lot of people who have no idea about Bitcoin. Like, for example, when I talk about this at work per se, I get looks at that like I'm a complete dumbass. Now, could that be right? Potentially. Potentially. But I have conviction in my Bitcoin thesis. I think that longer term, this is like a massive transfer of wealth going on. And I think that this is like paradigm shifting technology. I think this could completely change the financial system, and I want to be a part of that. So I have to manage my risk wisely and also be open-minded enough for this to be an actual opportunity anyway. So being 25, it's kind of hard, right? Like, I have my bullish thesis, I have my ideas, I have my set points of where I want to buy, and I'm collecting. That's my idea. Collect as much Bitcoin as I can while it's low, because it's going to be higher and higher and higher over longer periods of time, right? Now, when people talk, like, for example, think about this. I have people asking me about at work being like, how's your Bitcoin doing? First of all markets are down bad. This isn't just Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's like the best performing asset over the past decade, and there's still people who completely ignore it. We're insanely early, and I think that now is the time. Now is the best fucking time. It's not I think, I know. Now is the best time to be educating ourselves on Bitcoin, because if you want to be the one laughing in a few years when all your coworkers are like, oh, you were so lucky you bought it. Nah, man, I had conviction this whole time, and I was telling you, and your dumb, old, ignorant ass was too proud to even look into this shit. So I think that being young and being open-minded, this is our fucking advantage here. We need to take advantage of this. There are potential downside risks, of course. As miners, start to sell off their Bitcoin, because miners have like an operating cost, right? Right now, it's actually costs more to mine a Bitcoin than it is to receive one, right? So we're going to see miners start to go under, and that could cause some risk in the space as we see that happen. But with that happening, the difficulty of getting Bitcoin will become easier because there won't be as many people trying to get it. That's all a part of the mathematical algorithm. But essentially, right, this is the fucking opportunity here. This is the chance. we see Bitcoin come down here, that might be the opportunity that we've been literally waiting for. Now, think about it. This is a bearish video, but there's a lot of optimism coming out of that. So I wanted to highlight it and post it, because I want to look back at this and I want to be able in a few years to think, damn, that young 25-year-old dumbass that everyone was saying, hey, you're an idiot, you're dumb, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about people I work with, but all that shit, I want to be able to look back and say, I was right, and I'm proving all you motherfuckers wrong. So let's get it. Let's do the research and let's put the time in. Easy.